Well, the FedEx Cup playoffs begin on the PGA Tour, and Elk and I are here to break down the format and tell you everything you need to know. Now, Elk, it's a little bit different this year because in previous years, the top 125 have made the FedEx Cup playoffs and locked up their full playing privileges for the following season. But this year, things are happening differently. Top 70 are in the playoffs. And then because we're now in a calendar year schedule, the guys that are still looking to cement their place in the 125 have until the middle of November, the RSM Classic, to get within that 125. So the first thing I put to you is, do you prefer it that we are top 70 that are in the playoffs?
It's like, whew, all that explanation, and we still haven't understood anything yet. But no, I do not like this top 70 moving on to the playoffs. I would prefer the top 125. That's who is exempt for the season. It makes no difference to the PGA Tour to play 125 for the first 2 days and then cut to 70 on the weekend. That makes sense. We do it every week on tour. However, this year, slightly different. We've taken the top 70 players currently on the FedEx Cup. Everyone below that, Diane, gets 3 weeks off. And can you imagine the gap between the money between the two when they all get back together again? Doesn't seem fair to me. Lucas Glover, the champion of Greensboro last week, made this exact point. And then he put an exclamation point on winning it and jumping himself into the conversation at, I think, 57th or 58th now in the playoffs. So, yes, it's a different format. Top 70 at Memphis this week. They're playing for quadruple points. Out of this 70 guys that are playing in Memphis, 50 of those guys will advance to next week. So what do they have to do down below? They'd have to have a super week, quadruple points. We saw Adam Scott last year maybe have a third place coming out of that lower tier that jumped himself into it. He finished up making it all the way to the top 30. So it's possible all the players like Rahm and Scheffler and all of these guys, Cantlay, they're all safe. They could have a terrible week. I think Rory McIlroy either skipped this event last year or missed the cut or something and still won the FedEx Cup. But make note of this. If you're going quadruple points and you've got someone up top like Jon Rahm who wins, it's normally 500 points for the win. This week it's 2,000. If he wins it, will that propel him even further up the list and get that big handicap that we're going to have to do another whole show in a couple of weeks to explain how the handicap works?
Exactly, because the top 30 play in the Tour Championship at Eastlake, and it's a staggered scoring system based on their FedEx Cup position heading into the Tour Championship. But again, we'll get to all of that. I do want to look at the points quickly because, as you say, the winner takes home 2,000 points this week. And, you have someone, I'm looking at Max Homa, who is sitting at 4th in the FedEx Cup standings, 2,128 points at number 4. So if he were to win this week and win 2,000 points, then, depending on what Jon Rahm, Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy do, who are above him right now, I mean, that's huge. So the volatility is massive this week. And for somebody who is lower down to really make some moves and guarantee their place in the top 50, potentially take it all the way to the end.
Yeah, the top players are hoping that the top players play well, and the bottom players are hoping that they can do the giant leapfrog, which is kind of the whole playoff idea. When you think of football, right? You think of the top seeded best team playing the worst team that made the playoffs, and the worst team comes over the top and wins. Well, that's kind of the guys at 40th, the 60th. They're trying to do the big leapfrog and have a great week. It's very difficult, though, however, Diane, when these guys have a hard time out hitting all those top players when they're all playing in the same field.
Yeah.
Hideki Matsuyama, one of the best strikers out there. Cameron Young, both not putting too well. We got Cam Davis, one of my picks this week, someone I think will jump over. There's Harris English, who's coming back from an injury. He plays super. But all of these guys right here, Diane, they're all happy to be in this position, and they're looking to have a good week. Very difficult, however, to unseed some of these guys in the top 10. The most dangerous player, of course, I'm picking Jon Rahm to win the FedEx Cup this year because he hasn't won one, but the most dangerous player in this field is Rory McIlroy. For all the mental sort of problems he has around majors or the talk of these mental problems or not, He doesn't have any problems when he starts to think about the FedEx Cup. I think he's going for it. This is his fourth. He knows how to win it. He knows what it feels like, and he's not worried about it at all. He is the most dangerous player in this field.
Okay, well, that's how it works this week. Of course, we're going to be here to guide you throughout the entire FedEx Cup playoff little season here, and then beyond, when we have the FedEx fall events where the guys are going to be looking to get their place in the 125 and in the designated events for next year. As I said, we're going to hold your hands and take you through all of it. But this week, FedEx St. Jude Championship at TBC's Southwind in Memphis. You've got the top 70 players, no cut. And really, these guys are going to be looking to make it into the top 50 to continue their run in the playoffs.